Welcome to the Carroll Community Center Building Committee meeting of January 13, 2026. My name is Dick Malcolm, and I'm chair of the Carroll Community Center Building Committee. Following the guidance issued by the state in 2020 regarding the open meeting law, this public meeting will be held remotely, and individuals wishing to participate may do so by utilizing Zoom video conference technology. To join the meeting by video conferencing using a tablet, computer, or phone, please refer to the Town of Dover website under Meetings and Agendas. We'll start the first order of business. We'll start with a roll call of committee members present. Are you here? David Billings,
Yes.
Luciana Birdie,
Yes, I'm here.
Ruth Townsend.
Yes.
And as I mentioned, I'm Dick Malcolm, and we have a quorum, so we will get started. The first order of business is the approval of minutes. We've had two meetings since since our last approval of meetings. We had one on December 10th, and we had one on December 15th. I saw in the shared folder from Trey. I don't know if people have had a chance to review it. Trey did the minutes for December 15th. I did not see any for December 10th.
That's correct, Dick. I kind of spaced, I'll be honest, and I forgot that we had those two back to back. And the 10th, I will we'll get approval at the next building and committee meeting. I apologize about that, but I did get the 15th in there.
Okay. So why don't we table that agenda item? Excuse me. Well, let's take a vote on the meeting minutes of the 15th. Is there any discussion on those meeting minutes?
No.
If hearing no other comments, then I move that we approve the meeting minutes of the building committee meeting of December 15th, 2025. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, are you in favor? David,
Yes.
Luciana,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well. Okay, with that, I'll turn the meeting over to Trey, from Colliers Project Leaders, our project owner's project manager. Trey?
Thanks, Dick. Appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. So I'll jump right into it. Agenda, construction progress. Building interior is really all we're focusing on, and it is punch list. This has been a drawn out process. The punch list has been monetized. It has been provided to MOCC. Actually today, believe it or not, they did send back a more or less list of completed items. We still have roughly about 20 items still left open. The plan is for FMA and Colliers and Dick, I believe, will be joining as well, for us to do a back punch and make sure that these lists items are completed. I have pushed this up to the chair, to Crystal, who is the VP of operations for MOCC, kind of voicing our concerns of why this has taken so long. And if they want to get paid fully, this is a part of the process that is owed. So that's more or less just construction progress that we have so far. Kind of a broken record that over the last couple of weeks, our meetings, excuse me, unfortunately. Any questions on those? All right, move on then. Budget update. Not much has changed since we last met. The only thing that will change, which will come up, is from FMA's side, and that just dropped our total remaining balance, $50K, so 477.2 remaining in contingency and total project balance. One thing I will point out is if you look at like some of these remaining balance line items, so we have 14.6K here, $200, 10K here. So all of these line items, I don't foresee us using any of that remaining balance. So this items could more or less be transferred back into contingency to have a little more bite at the apple, more or less. It's something to discuss, it's just something I wanted to point out.
I mean, no, I agree. We should probably move those,
Yeah.
clean up the contracts as best we can.
Yep.
Make sure there's no outstanding bills and then move them into project contingency.
Yeah, I would agree also. And that if I'm looking at this correctly, Trey, that's 113K.
Yeah, and F and
Approximately.
E's. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So just something I wanted to point out. I think we're at the point now where we can, like, the all of this is more or less could be moved into contingency.
Will
Which,
the will the builders see this?
no,
No,
unless they
you.
watch this meeting.
Fair
yeah,
enough.
it's public, but
Yeah.
So it's just something I wanted to share with you. We'll move on then. So change orders, hard cost approvals. We've gone through these 2 pages. The last approvals was the Jim Curtin remote. So total approved to date, I have 910K. PCO 111 is been out there for a while, and it's
Yeah.
their delay claim. We've done our end. This is in MOCC's court. We're still waiting on responses from them, from what we've provided, from City Council's review, our review, FM's review. Ball is strictly in MOCC's court, and it has been for, I'd say, 6 weeks now. 106 is the rain chain and barrel in the ASI 54, and then 94. We received some revisions and we have put comments to these. So we'll be getting that back from MOCC. So more or less, I don't have anything to present for hard costs PCO wise currently.
now the rain barrel, I thought was the gutter that we were going to.
Correct.
We just didn't change the title. Okay, that's fine.
Correct. Yep.
And this
Where-
is,
Soft costs. Oh, so I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah,
that just
just
one-
sort of where are we with, I guess, the retention wall is done, so it's just a matter of getting the change order correct. Where are we on getting that gutter put together? I mean, I don't think we'll ever get O'Connor to actually do this work, so we're gonna have to go another route in order to get it done.
Yeah,
So-
and I agree with you, David, on that. That MOCC probably we're not going to get much more work out of them.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
David, I think you had mentioned it last month, and I concur. I mean, at this point, I think if I believe we need to kind of give them first right of refusal at some point, just to say, confirm that you're not doing this work. And I say that for 2 reasons. One, because we have given them the scope, and part of that there is a small amount of the contract scope in there. There's about 4K for the gutter work that's been, we still have. So, and if not, I mean, I think this can happen in a different fashion, but that's
Okay.
sort of my understanding of this is I'm saying last refusal, but basically, one more time, can you guys confirm that you are going to manage the scope? Because it's both MOCC and the roofer. And just put it to bed so that we have that answer.
Okay.
At what point does if we do some additional work like this, there's a monetary value before it has to go to a public bid?
Mhm.
What is that number?
10K.
10K. So anything over 10,000 goes out as a public bid, goes through that
You
process.
know, it's 25, 10 is best
Yeah,
business. Anything under 10, you can basically,
Pick who you want.
yeah,
25,000. Yeah.
25,000 is public bid.
So I'm a little confused then. So under 10, you can pick who you want. over
Well, you
25.
get prices, and then
I'm not required to get
25.
3 or more prices for anything under 10K. For
Right.
full public bid, though, it is 25K.
Right.
For a small scope like this, I would say it would be under 10K to put in a dry well and a little bit of gutter work.
Okay, so I'm just asking the question just for my own education. If it's like $15,000 worth of work, something in between the 10K and the 25K, what's the process that needs to be followed for that?
I'd need to solicit at least 3 bids,
You need 3 bids.
3
Okay,
quotes, excuse me.
okay.
Yeah, you need to get 3 written quotes.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. Thank you for that info.
Is this
Gotta
something
love
that we might be
Massachusetts
able to move
procurement law.
forward with once Katie gets a confirmation, a triple confirmation from Mook that they don't want the work? And then could we then ask Trey to go out and get a bid?
Yeah,
I'm just on the let's get
Yes.
it done
Yeah,
cycle.
we do need to get it done.
absolutely.
Do we have, so, and we have I believe we have the documents to get pricing with. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I forget who's the roofer?
It's Greenwood Roofing.
Greenwood.
Greenwood? Yeah. I just want to ask them.
Okay. Okay, so that's something that Colliers will be doing, right? It's confirm.
Yeah, if I can get confirmation, then MOCC obviously doesn't want any part of this, and if they say, yeah, move forward, that's something we can do. Yeah,
Okay.
we would solicit with Greenwood or Stanley or any other roofing company.
Yeah, we just need to make sure we maintain our warranty.
Yeah, that's the catch
That's why
22 in all of this as well.
Okay. On the delay claim, I guess it goes back to town council of how do we get a resolution? I mean, at some point we gotta stop going back and forth.
We're not going back and forth, David. Everything's in MOCC's court. All of our comments and city council comments, all of that's been sent to MOCC.
All right, and it's been almost 2 months.
Yeah, since they've responded to it.
At some point, I guess I would say, Dave Haviland, can we get town council to sort of put an end game together?
The answer to that is yes, with a caveat. Town council was on a sailboat in some exotic sea for a long period of time. And I don't know if she's back yet. So if council is back, so maybe this delay worked to our favor. We just don't realize it. But yes, I will ask Mike if Nina is around and what's end game for the negotiation on the delay claim.
Yeah.
Any other questions regarding these?
Thank you, Chad.
Yeah, I think you summed it up well, David. You said on the retaining wall block upgrade, that's already done and spent. It's just getting some numbers correct. Is that?
Yeah, so
Correct.
but just to let the committee know, like a portion of this PCO was actually already approved.
Mhm.
And it was the material costs upgrades from going from a smaller block to a bigger block for the wind loads of the fence. It's just the labor that we're kind of going back and forth on. Like the labor seems like it would be, well, it is owned. It doesn't make a difference if we're picking up a 3-foot or a 4-foot block and putting it in place. So that's just we just got comment, like they sent R1, I want to say last week and a half ago. So I know Katie's provided comments and I have mine and we'll get those to MOCC.
One could make an argument that there's less labor because the blocks are bigger, therefore they have to pick up fewer blocks.
Yeah. Sorry, my daughter just ran in here. 1 second.
That's okay. Ask her.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think
it's
the labor's
heavier
on?
equipment,
Yeah.
it's more equipment,
Okay,
it's
bye.
never less.
Sorry about that. They
Yeah.
just got home from school.
Oh, no worries.
Fine.
Bye. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. Okay. If you guys are happy, then I'm happy. I understand what the deal is.
All right, we'll move on to soft costs. So we've reviewed all of these, and the last one that we did was this door for the 8900. This is for the data collection for the front entryways. Moving to pending changes. We have VE planting. This is for north side drainage, hedge planting along Whiting, as well as VE landscaping and site improvements, which captures benches.
And some other plantings.
And some other, and other plantings as well. I do have two to present this evening. I'll just go quickly for these post wraps. So Dover Automotive. Oh, yes. I love it. Pizza for dinner. Bye, honey. Love you too. Bye.
That is
Sorry
awesome.
again. They're both coming. Yeah, they both came in. Apologize about that all. Post wraps. So this is along the rear portion of our butter of Dover Automotive. There's two posts. They saw the front, service drive that has the nice post wraps and around the galvanized steel poles that you can't see. This is a butter request, and they asked if we could do the same. It's $600. Personally, I don't know if we owe that to them, but it's just something that was requested and I received pricing for. So I'll leave that to the committee.
Trey, can you clarify, are the wraps visible from the community center parking lot or are they visible from the abutters yard?
A butter side.
My suggestion is that we give this to Nina as the final negotiating chip. It's $600. I don't think any of us really want to argue over $600, but
Yeah.
until that legal situation is finally and firmly resolved, I just would rather make sure that this is the last thing or that type.
Yeah, I agree. That's
Yeah.
reasonable.
So maybe you guys can just approve it, contingent upon town council negotiating a final settlement or something like that.
Yeah, good idea. And so why don't we do that right now?
Yep.
So I move that the committee recommends for approval post wraps rear fence along a butter in the amount of $600 contingent upon approval of town council. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, are you in favor? David,
Yes.
Luciana,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
and I am yes also. Thank you.
Thank you all. The next one is an ad service from FM to not to exceed 50K, and I'm actually going to turn this over to Katie to present.
Okay. To be clear, I have nothing to show. I have no graphics tonight. Thanks, Trey. I'll basically, as a kind of a summary, in the fall of 2024, we came to the meetings to say, listen, based on the original contract dates, we were at the end of our scope. Colliers was in a similar trajectory. We had slightly different durations for both kind of CA scope, and then they also had closeout, whereas FM does not. So ad service 4 was for the 3 months at the end of 2024. Based on the schedule at that point, we were looking to get an updated construction schedule. In early of 2025, we did get a schedule based on that information, and their forecasting of having the TCO, the building occupiable in March. We outlined some additional scope, both for FM as well as for our consultants, some additional site visits, and other things. That was Ed Service 5 that was presented to this group and approved. That was kind of twofold. Well, I should say even sort of three. So there was some scope for our consultants. For FM, we said, hey, based on the schedule, we can reasonably go through this. You know, we think there'll be occupancy in March, the staff will be moving in April, and it's open to the public in May. We know now that the actual realized schedule was several months beyond that. So because we were working with the schedule at that time, with those forecasted dates, we said this is what we're comfortable with. An additional, we're going to recommend a not to exceed scope of about $30,000 for the work that happens after that, either the schedule lingering or additional scope, you know, as things happen. So Ed Service 5 is what we had been billing to, invoicing from. And that actually brought us all the way through August of this year, which is the large majority of the CA scope. So that was, you know, we had a vehicle to invoice to. Early September was probably when we signed off on the sod, but primarily the 99% of the project scope was done by August. We have been continuing to, join OAC meetings, review review PCOs, coordinating with Colliers on the monetized punch list, and other kind of various comments and questions that have come up, either from project history, things like the fence scope, because the town has done some of the fence scope on their own, in contrast to the contract scope. There have been some coordination back and forth on that. And then there have been a few other conversations about some additional scope. There was a lot of feedback from the users in the building with concerns about the parking layout. So we did kind of go through and look at what we have. I've coordinated with Mark several times to say, this is the layout that you have, and here's some alternate options that you could do. One, it would reduce the parking numbers, but this would give, upsized parking. So they would be a full 9 feet wide. And because this is different than what was presented previously, it would certainly need to be, blessed by the planning board to make sure that, they're okay with that. Another one that I would call sort of additional or just something that we hadn't talked about before was the electrification of the gym equipment. That's something that FM as well as BVH, our electrical engineer, have worked through to create a package that can go out to bid separate. We did talk a bit about giving that directly to MOCC, and we've compared, and now the path forward is to put that out on the street as a separate package. It's both equipment, the guts, and some electrical stuff. So in summary, basically this is, a continuation of design services that we have been doing since basically the beginning of September, which is when our the Ed service was exhausted, so there is not a vehicle to build to. So I did have some conversations with Dick and Trey early this fall. We had put together this Ed Service 7 as a draft in November. I did just update something today. I don't think that this group has seen that, so full transparency. And it was really just to add in some of this additional scope that we've been working on. But the not to exceed was I don't want to say it's a total wag. It was more of just to say, listen, we know that there might be some more questions or things going on in the future. We want to right size this and have something to build to, because there hasn't been, and really this is just an extension of the ongoing services that we've done throughout CA. And like I said, some of these smaller little things are just one-offs. So what we've included here, the 50,000 is not to exceed. I did run some numbers today as of September. FM has, we have spent approximately 25,000 for September, October, November, December. I don't know about January. But there is also a small amount for BVH, for electrical engineers, who did put together a small package of drawings so that we could put out this, the gym equipment electrification. flipping through. I think at this point, that's the only thing that's outside of FM's scope. I don't think any of the other consultants have spent any additional funds. There's nothing additional that they're expecting. There's no surprise invoices, but that's kind of where we are right now. So, like I said, I don't have any slides. There's nothing to walk through. And I think that you received a sort of a draft version of something last week. But unfortunately I didn't get this to you earlier to be able to go through in more detail. So I'll pause because I've either given you way more detail than you want or you have more questions.
Yeah, I did. Thank you, Katie. I did just send out like 10 minutes or before the meeting, probably about 6:15. I did email everybody this revised copy if you want to take a look at it. This revision. And I did, and I emailed out the end of last week the original. Discussion.
I guess the first thing is we need to sort of get this project to an end. I mean, partly we keep kind of
Agreed.
bringing things up. I mean, we got to, at some point, the building's got to be taken over by the town. Any changes are going to be on the town and not on the project. I mean, we've got to, we got to close the project. And I know that Colliers and FMA's been doing work, and I'm just trying to find a way of how we can sort of bring this to an end.
David, I agree with you, considering we don't have a vessel to build to.
Yeah, no, I know, and partly it's on a bit on the town. At this point,
Well, I will
we
say,
can't-
Trey, that thank you very much to Colliers for stepping up and agreeing to help us out through the end. It is very much appreciated. And I'll stop there.
So I guess the 50,000 is to sort of pay for what's been going on the last couple of months and have some reserve for going forward. That's about where we're at. All
That's
right. So
the
you've already
description.
spent
Yeah.
what, 30,000 something?
Just
based
under
on-
that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, I guess the building has been asking the design team to do additional work. So I think it's a little hard for us to say no.
Yeah, from Collier's perspective, I would say yes, that the electrifying of the gym, for example, the rain barrels, like all of these items were past that initial August date that we talked about. So those are just my comments. So I'll leave it with you all though.
So Colliers, if I understand this Trey correctly, Colliers is recommending approval.
Yeah, if the not to exceed 50K, and like I said, if there's no more additional services for that they have to do, then if Katie's math's correct, we shouldn't see much more.
Yeah, I think so. It's important now. Let's draw the line and right now in the sand and say let's no more additional services. I mean, excuse me, no more additional. We don't want to put any more work on FM for additional items to this project.
Okay.
May I ask a question, Dick?
Yes.
The last outstanding, the gutter or the rain barrel, whatever we want to call it. I mean, that was FM's E&O. And so the fact that they've had to work on something that was not in the original scope and there was not a gutter on that small roof. I have to ask the question, when does the town of Dover get to recoup the costs involved in the project over the last however many years for, I mean, Dover had a fair share of things that were in the building and no one knew about. And Colliers has stepped up. And I just want to ask, Katie and FM, when do you guys step up and take responsibility for the overruns, the time, and the cost of materials all the way through the project?
David, I can answer, but I might need some more clarification from you. So ultimately, all of these conversations that we've been having have been based on the construction schedule, which obviously has gone past any original dates that were forecasted. So our original contract, which was back in early 2020, which certainly predates me, was based on forecasting of schedules. I believe it was 14-month CA duration. That was the expectation. So back in the fall of 2024, that's where we got to that point and said, hey, based on the information that we had before, we forecasted. So, like anything, you're using the information that you have at that time. So 14 months of CA schedule, that was the expectation of the project. That's what we had, forecasted the service for. So if something goes a month longer, 2 months longer, big picture, that's not something that we say, hey, listen, we need to start, billing for the minute. We are Somebody else can do the math here of the difference between September of 2024 and the summer of 2025 when the building really did get open. So that number of months is not something that's not a rounding error. That's not something that can just be absorbed because the scope that was anticipated based on what we knew previously. And I know prior to my involvement, there were conversations with this project of if you would go with a CM or with a GC. All of these things go into a project when you look at the budget and you look at the complexity and what is being assumed and forecasted. And like anything, when there's a renovation, there's always unforeseen conditions, but really they're hidden conditions in the sense of we don't know what the issue is going to be, but we know that they'll be finding some things. So all of that was baked into our service. We knew that there's some new scope, there's some renovation scope, and then there's also an existing building that, there's going to be things that you're finding. So all of that was baked into the budget that we submitted back to in 2020 of this is the scope that will be needed for this project. I can't speak to your comment about the materials because I'm not sure what materials you're referring to that were incurred. But at this point, the original additional services were required as part of a public project. This is controlled construction. If we elected to not attend OACs or be involved in the project, you can't reasonably say that that's controlled construction. So all of those initial additional services were part of maintaining that project continuity and the oversight, which is ultimately when we get to occupancy and we're ready to get the final inspections, it comes down to life safety. So that part is a function of the construction schedule getting extended. I won't speak for everyone, but I will say that for myself, I wish this project could have been expedited a bit more. I wish it didn't have to go as long as it did. And certainly this is not making anyone rich. That's not the intent of this scope. It's to make sure that we are continuing the service. And what I'm hearing tonight, and it's very clear, is that this is not the request of the town. You don't want us to be on call. You don't want us as a retainer. That's totally fine. We're not, we don't want to be waiting on the call, the back phone, for design services. But as of this point, we have maintained that continuity. And like I said, I'm not sure if I quite answered your question, but that's my initial response.
I appreciate it. It is not what I was getting at, so the blame is on me in terms of not articulating my thoughts. You talked about the contract extensions, which certainly the bin. My point is simply we've all had our contributions to those contract extensions, and Dover has been eating ours, and Colliers has stepped up. And for things like the little roof over the entranceway that didn't have a gutter plan, we're having to pay for whatever extensions and increased costs that might bring. That's in my layman's terms, so please forgive my if I use the wrong word. That's an error or an omission on the architect's work. And when do we get that type of human error back? Because we're all humans, we're all making mistakes. I get that. But at some point, why should the taxpayers of Dover be paying for mistakes that were made, agreed by humans, but they were still mistakes made? And when do we get to recover that?
Gotcha. So the basis of contracts for AIA and for really all construction work when you're working with design professionals is the standard of care. So the standard of care does not propose perfection. Most projects, if you look at the drawings, they will not say 100% complete, because the scope of the drawings that the contractor is bidding on, that are being presented, going out to bid, they're not professing to say 100% complete, coordinated, every single T is crossed and I is dotted. That's just not, because that's the expectation of perfection across the board. That's not part of the standard of care. So the standard of care compares a project or a design professional to a similar person for a similar project in a similar locale at a similar time. It's comparing a project to, I'll say, your peer in the sense. So perfection is not the expectation. And if anyone here is involved in the insurance world, you know that, because if I tell you that something is going to be perfect and there's a claim, they won't support that, because I can't. It's disingenuous from a professional liability, but also we're humans. We can't promise you perfection. So that standard of care is several things, and then related to that, there is an assumption, understandings of errors and omission, of additional coordination or hidden conditions, and I think, and I don't know that I've seen this, but I do know that there have been some conversations with Colliers during the project to look at the PCOs, the additional costs, all of the things that have gone into the project that are drawing from your contingency. And usually there is a spreadsheet and a checklist and something that's a reason, a cause is attributed to that. So whether that's a coordination item or additional owner scope, that's one that goes into that. Those things are all part of projects, and there is an assumption that particularly for a renovation project, that's where the contingency is drawing from. So contingency is monies that you hope that you don't have to spend on something, but you also have, just in case, and it's not just in case, like, okay, we don't want to spend it because the 1910 building is not historic, but it's historic in nature, in the sense that we knew that there would be conditions that were just not visible ahead of time. I know we had a lot of conversations here about some seismic upgrading and some other things that were, things had to change. It was work that did have to get submitted as part of a PCO. So in the sense of the town, the owner being made whole for my mistakes or my errors, that's just not a process. That's not part of this conversation, because I can't
But it
promise you
needs to
perfection.
be.
So
It
my
needs to be
contract,
part
I
of the
can't promise you
conversation.
perfection.
No, but standard of care would put a
Yeah.
gutter for a roof.
Okay.
And we can go through the list if you'd like, but I'd rather not do that tonight. I just am asking a general question. When is I'm sorry, FM, I can't remember your name.
Yep.
When is the firm going to stand up for the work that it's done? And for those areas that there are obvious standard of care mistakes, when are those going to be accounted for?
I'm not sure. We talked about the gutter. I would need to look at our list to get a better sense of other examples, to give you a better sense of saying, hey, these are the things that I have identified. And to be clear, we do that. We have our I won't share the screen. We have our own tracking mechanism.
Yeah.
All the PCOs, we look at that, we coordinate with our consultants, because it goes across the board, which is when there's something where we say, hey, this wasn't flagged or just wasn't appropriately looked at. We want to know that. So going forward, when working with the same consultants again, we can say, this is something we need to look at differently. Or, we're going to make different mistakes, but let's not make that one again. So I can get back to you and I can give you a list of what I think were, I don't know, lessons learned, if that's what you're looking for.
It's not meant to be a gotcha or an aha. It has to be with good firms stand behind their work. And that's what I'm looking for is before we write yet another $50,000 check, when does the taxpayers of the town of Dover get to feel good about all the money that has been spent when not all of it needed to be spent, but we're all humans?
I would say that I hope the taxpayers of Dover are pleased with the building that they do have right now.
That is correct. But that does not mean that there were added expenses that were in the project that did not need to be, including something like a roof without a gutter.
Yeah, I agree that there are errors and omissions, but I also agree that there's a standard of care. It's a different process. It's actually, there's error and omission insurance. That's how you get to it. I think this may be more of a conversation with town council and Colliers. Look at the list, see if there's a reasonable claim that can be made against the insurance. But it's a different process. I mean, right now, I think we're being asked to look at what are the monies that they've spent. If the town wants to recoup some of that from their emissions policy, we certainly can look at that, and that would be a conversation with town council. That would be my recommendation.
I'll just say that E&O, errors and admissions, Dave, is less than 2% of the contingency.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but again, that's a conversation for town council and the select board, because there is that insurance policy that's part of the contract, and we have a right to claim it if it makes sense.
I appreciate that clarification, David. I obviously I'm new to this game, but we're at the end of it. We all hope we're at the end of it.
I'm trying to push the end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a difficult question, and Katie, you've answered it very well. It always comes up, and it's something in the industry we've just kind of learned to work through.
Well, I got to talk to Nina anyway, so I'll throw this on the list.
Okay, very good.
You gonna find her on her boat somewhere?
Satellite phones, I don't know.
I don't know.
The funny part is she said she was away in the ocean for at least a month.
Starlink,
but she would be taking cell
Starlink's
phone
everywhere
calls.
now. You can get a hold of anyone anywhere.
I guess.
So, anyway, David Billings, thank you for the clarification on that. And I know we did go through an exercise with this earlier this, maybe it was in the summer. I'm losing track, with Al Estevez, Trey's predecessor.
Yep.
But-
No, I remember us taking a look at it.
Yeah. So our mission is to, there are ways to handle, I think, Dave Haviland's concerns through town council and errors and omissions. But as for the building committee, we need to decide whether we want to recommend for approval this add service 07 for additional services due to the time extension of 50,000, not to exceed.
And is this going to be the absolute final, not to exceed?
1000% yes.
Yeah,
You can put that in the meeting minutes. Yes.
Well, we got to stop asking for things.
Correct.
And that needs to go to, COA and Park and Rec and people using the building. They got to live with what they got.
Yep. And then turn it over to the town, and then the town goes.
And I mean, if things need to change later on, but that's something else.
Yeah. Oh, well, good point. Okay, any more discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, then I move that the ad service proposal 07 from Fennec McCready in a not to exceed amount of $50,000. We recommend for approval. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, are you in favor? David Billings,
Yes.
Luciana.
Yes.
Thank you. Ruth,
Yes.
and I am yes as well. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all. All right, we'll move to our next agenda item. Just a quick snapshot of contingency, like I mentioned. So construction, we're at 99.7, and project completion, we're at like 99%. Worst case scenario, 245K, roughly 10%. So that's what's worst case scenario for contingency right now. Invoice summary. So, I have a little, gotta do a better job of that. Anyways, Colonial Fence. These is the basketball court backstop and the post wraps. These are the two invoices that we are presenting this evening. Both of these scopes have been completed. One is for $5,528, and one is for $2,372.
And these are both items which we discussed in previous
Yeah.
Building committee meetings, and now these are the bills.
Yep.
Okay, any discussion on these two invoices?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, hearing none. I move that we approve these two invoices as listed in the total amount of $7,900. Is there a second?
Second?
Are you in favor? David Billings,
Yes.
Luciana,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well.
Great. Thank you all. Future business recommendations and then next meeting date.
So
Okay.
that puts us, that's a Tuesday night, February 10. Any objections if we set up our meeting for then?
What time?
6:30.
6:30? Great. Thank you.
That works for you, Dave?
Yeah.
It does.
Great.
I may not be here. I may be in the UK.
Okay.
We would love to join you. Thank you.
Well, that would make the meeting easier because otherwise I'll be joining about midnight.
Yes.
Luciana. Because we're gonna need to get a quorum. We're gonna need
I
we
can
need
be
three of
there.
us for
I
a
can be
quorum.
there.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Luciana, I can be there.
You can be there? Okay. Ruth, is there if the meeting was, if we met like a little late, like on the 11th or 12th, does that make a difference for you?
Don't know yet. I haven't firmed up the dates.
Okay. All right, well, why don't we leave it on then as the 10th? And Ruth, if that changes, if you could let me, if you can be available, that would be great. And or if if we moved it to like the 11th or the 12th or something, let me know and see if that could work for everybody else. I know we like to stay in this rhythm of meeting the second week of the month, just due to the whole bill processing with the town, how that
Yeah,
all
no,
works.
leave it there. And if I do end up traveling, I'll try and join you. And if I'm not traveling, then I'll be here.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Very elusive, I know.
All right, so we'll go February 10th, 2/10 at 6:30.
I'm hoping to surprise my sister for her birthday. And I haven't booked it yet, but I'm hoping she doesn't watch this.
Shouldn't have said anything, Maria.
Sorry.
Shouldn't have said anything. Now it's public.
I know,
That-
exactly.
that was
That's
on
what I
YouTube,
thought
right?
as soon as I said it. But I really doubt she's going to be watching this.
That's it. I'm sending the transcript.
Thanks.
YouTube link. There you
Yeah.
go.
That's all I had for my presentation. I'll stop sharing now.
Okay. All right. Any new business?
Nope.
Anything else to discuss? Okay, if not, I move we adjourn this meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Are you in favor? David,
Yes.
Luciana,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well. So again, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Enjoy your evening.
Thanks.
Good
Bye.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.